Now what we're going to do is all about the gel polish side of it. One of the main things that I want to show you on the gel polish is that we need to care for gel polish. You know, like gelish is known for having the window in the front and light gets in there, or even your UV light from your table gets in there and it will harden it in the bottle. And it actually happens to some of these others as well, because as it sets on our desk and we have the light barely on there and the sunlight's coming through, it's actually setting it up in here in the clear part, as some of these bottles are not coated all the way up. And so just know, be aware of the sunlight that's coming in on your table or your UV light, making sure that it's facing the other way so your products aren't in the light. Then, if they do get too thick, which this one's not, there is a brand out there. Oh, bless you. There is a brand out there from Lachat, and it's called Gelos. And it so far is the only... Oh, bless you again. You. So far, it's the only gel polish thinner that I know of. And then I have a shaker, which I'd show you on the video. So what I do is I put about, a dropper full has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So about 10 drops into my gel polish, put the lid on. I lay it on its side and kind of roll it back and forth to try to get the thinner kind of moved around in there. And then when it goes into the shaker, it goes in upside down and it clamps onto it, and then it shakes it in a circular motion for a minute. Sometimes I'll set it back down, tap it, get the gel kind of going back down again, and then I put it in there a second time. I don't have to do that too often, but keeping your gel polish thinned out, I've not had it where it's changed the consistency. It still sets the same. If you over thin it, I could tell where maybe you would maybe have to do an extra coat because you're not going to get the opaque of the color, but it's important to be able to take care of our gel polishes. So on Lindsay, if you watched the video number 1, we have the genre technique on these 2 and then 1 on our other hand. And so these just have the base coat. That base coat, if you were to touch it, which I do not recommend you doing this on client, but the base coat is like a double-sided tape. It's sticky on this side. So the advantage to the stickiness is anything that you put up on it, it's going to adhere to that. So one of the things that we can do is adhere pigment or glitter or something into that tacky layer. This one, this light, I don't know if it shows the prism of this, but this is an additive by Elegant Glass. It's silver, highly pigmented, hollow.
Oh, you can't tell when you're on the video how pretty it is.
And it never ever is like that. Even in pictures, I can't even get my pictures to show truly how beautifully pigmented these are. I take a brush, apply it to that tacky layer. You can use, how they come with makeup applicators and stuff. You can use that as well. If you've put your gel polish on right, you know that it's perfect line all the way around the cuticle, down the side walls, all the way to the end. So when I brush this on, it's a perfect coverage. So when you always see like hashtag no color, this would be one of those hashtags. Or no, no gel polish, it's just pigment. So Lindsay has decided that what she's going to do is this melody color on the rest of them. We're going to do hollow on the ring fingers, and then we're going to fade the hollow into the gel polish on this one, so we get to kind of have a little fun. I do my glitter first, and the reason why, see how it kind of trickled down onto the next now? Yes, that makes me crazy, and therefore if I had gel polish on there, I'm going to have to take and wipe that back off. So now I'm still into the base part, so I can remove that. You want to remove it with rubbing alcohol. Remember, in your lint-free wipe, remove the excess. Now gel polish color will still stick to this base even though it's not tacky. So I can continue on. So when you're applying color, it's exactly the same way as what I show in the base. I'm going to wipe off the excess. Then you don't need it all thicked out. Apply it to the center of the nail, drag it down, push it up towards the cuticle to get that even line. and drag down the sides all the way down your free edge. Every bristles on all these brushes are so different. So you see how it kind of streaks down, but I wait a second and it goes away? That's normal. It just depends on the material that they used for the bristles of the brush. I know like OPI and some of them are really nice with their bristles. I think that's why the product costs more. Those bristles are very smooth, so your finish is smooth. However, if you just take your time and do this, this one smooths out as well. Down the sides. So the technique is always the same. I like when I'm using like a black or a red. It feels like I get to practice my base coat each time to make sure that I know exactly where to put my brush and how much product I need. If for some reason, maybe you're a little shaky or something, and you were to get, I'll just do it on purpose, you get some on the skin like that, you know, you don't want to set that in the light, because if you do, it hardens and can create a little issue. So what I do is I take one of my gel brushes, I put alcohol on it, rub it down the side to remove it from the skin, and try to remove any of the gel polish from the skin. So that's a way of troubleshooting that. If it pulls too much and you just see that it's made a mess, it's not worth just cleaning up the outside. It's worth removing the entire thing and starting all over so that you don't get that into the sidewalls. So this one, into the tacky layer, I was able to put the pigment in there. So you need to encapsulate that. So once again, come in with your base coat. Base coat can be continuously layered on top of each other without getting too thick and without altering your color. It also is the only product in this beside your top coat that's completely clear, so you can encapsulate with your base coat. If you're taking it and you've used a wedge, your finger, your applicator, whatever, and pushed it in there, you can create the hollow effect, or if you're using chromes, the mirror finishing kind of look. Then you're going to encapsulate that with another coat. I love this part, and I don't know if you can tell on this live, but I love the way the glitter prisms. I never get tired of that. Cap over that free edge to make sure it's completely encapsulated on the corners. Remember to wipe off any excess if anything gets on the skin, and then I cure everything for 1 minute. So back to this one. I always do the glitter ones first, so like I said, if it gets on in the rest of them, I can clear that so I don't mess up my other gel polishes. Add my additive, glitter, pigment, whatever it is that you're using. Pack it in there. I like to use this brush because I can really get off a lot of the excess without a lot of waste. Check the other ones to make sure that it didn't float in the air and get on anything else, which it had not. I can come back in with my color and start my application all over again. Remember, it's gel polish, so as it settles, it will naturally flow where it needs to flow. If you have a client with very, very ridged nails, and even after you've, filed and buffed the top, and you've gotten one coat of base on, and you look down and you can still see lots of ridging, it might be worth it to do a second base to make that smooth, or you can skip over to the genre technique and it will smooth out any imperfections. So that way your end result, even though you're working with their natural nail and they don't want it enhanced, the end result is still a beautiful, flawless looking nail. On this first coat, I don't worry so much about capping the free edge. And the reason why is if you cap it every step of the way, you're going to get kind of a bubbled edge. And I don't like bubbled edges. It's not a trend I'm working on right now. But I am making sure that I go all the way down the side and all the way to the free edge. And once again, it's worth it to go, oh, I see a little fuzz. It's worth it to go back over the nail again just to make sure that is completely adhered to that base coat. Nothing is flooding into the cuticles or the sidewalls. This one needs encapsulated over the pigment. So I'm taking the base coat and completely encapsulating it. With that brush, you can tell I don't have a lot of excess. So therefore, I'm not getting a lot of glitter onto my base coat brush, so that I don't contaminate and put glitter all over my base coat that I need to use on everybody. On this one, because I am finished with this nail, I am going to cap that free edge just to make sure it's completely encapsulated. And then I'm going to set this. Ooh. Okay, so here's something that happens sometimes. So the gel pot, this finger, it's probably when I turn it around, this finger has touched this one. So, being that this is not set in the light yet, I can come back in. I'm going to do a cleanup off the skin with some alcohol. Clean that part off so it does not set in the light. Come in with my gel polish. Smooth that back down on the nail. And then it's ready to go back into the light. All right. So with the base coat, if you were to look and you'd see, glitter into your bristles on your paper towel, wipe that off so that you don't get that glitter into your base coat and create a settlement in there, and then you can put it back into your brush. Hi Shell, welcome back to part 2. Hope you had a good little break. So I'm coming in with my second coat of color. Once again, it's kind of that same technique over and over. This is where our job can get kind of boring, as we feel like there's never a change, but this is so important to always stay consistent. In this case, I'm doing the second coat. I am going to come across, cap that free edge. This one's already been encapsulated with another coat of clear, so that one's done. This is where I get to fine tune the cuticle line a little bit and down the sides just to make sure I have a flawless look. Cap the free edge.
She said, hey sweet, sorry, we're sorting a problem in the group on the cover photo post X. Gorgeous color, by the way.
You always gotta love that there's always something going on in our groups. I don't think people realize that behind the scenes, us admin, 24 hours a day. We have enough people all around the world to try to control any of the drama or what we call trolls in the group, rude comments. However, with that being said, you might get one in every group, but the rest of the group is amazing, and the pictures and the technique and the networking that we share blows my mind. Drag this down. If you guys saw this setup, you will see that my angle to be able to see the nail over my camera, it's a good thing I have long arms and a long head and long neck. Okay, so I've encapsulated the edges. I always go back and just make sure that nothing has pulled. I take my finger, run it across the edge, just to make sure if anything pulled up off of the edge, it won't bubble out. You could use a sponge for this, but I've just gotten to where I use my finger. If the nails were longer, I would run it up the sides just to pull off any excess and then cap that little edge. So I'm not removing the product. I'm just making sure that none of it has ran. So therefore I don't get like I said, a bubbled end. So these have 2 coats on. This one's already been encapsulated. I'm going to set this in the light for 1 minute.
Oh, sorry.
And repeat this one. I haven't been able to catch up with Lindsay, my model, yet. Like I said, she went on a honeymoon and went on a sailing trip for a couple weeks. I could not imagine everything that she saw and got to experience, so I can't wait till we're done where I get to listen to how her vacation was and have to come back to our snowy weather and start all over with work and the normal day-to-day stuff. The duties that we don't want to do. We'd rather go on vacation. I can say, if I could go anywhere right now, well, I have to say I just got back from Mexico from Lindsay's wedding, so I can't use Mexico because that was a blast. But I would come see you girls in the UK. I want to meet every single one of you face to face. I've so much enjoyed chatting with you. Fine-tune the shaping. Cap the free edge. This is a very opaque color. 2 coats is definitely enough. If you have a color that's just not getting the color that you want, you know, sometimes it takes 3 coats. Cap the free edge. And then go back with the finger again. Like I said, if it's longer, you might want to go up the sides a little bit. In this case, I just want to make sure that nothing has extra pulled into my edge.
She says, wow, sounds amazing. I would love to meet you and see you.
Yes, it would be great. Okay, this one's already been encapsulated, so I'm going to set this in the light for 1 minute. So Lindsay has decided that she wants to fade this little finger using that same silver. A product like this, I can touch it, it's a little bit sticky. Some gel polishes are very, very sticky. So it kind of depends on the product. With this one, I have a very light tackiness to it, so therefore I can use the tacky. If there's no tacky layer, you can encapsulate the color with your base coat again, so that when after it cures, you have a tacky layer. Sometimes when the gel polish is wet, if you're using glitter, you can sprinkle on the glitter to get that, and then you can cure it in the light. But with an additive, if you go to sprinkle it, the whole thing wants to dump out in a chunk, so it's hard to sprinkle. So I like to use it after it's cured and use that tacky layer. I'm going to use my brush. Because I only want it to kind of fade up to about this area and then lightly fade out, I'm actually going to apply my brush with the additive way up here, because naturally it's going to fall down into that area. If I use this size of a brush and I apply it here, then it's going to go up farther than what I want. So don't think I'm losing it when I go up higher. So I'm going to prime the brush and I'm going to get the additive in there. I'm going to come up higher and set it on there. So that way, when it does fade up the nail, it's a lot more natural looking fade. Instead of a big glob. I can push it into that tacky layer. I get a nice subtle fade from the cuticle up. Because I don't have added product down the side, I've not flooded it, so as that grows out, it's not going to be like a huge bump. So do you want a soft fade like that, or do you want it to go up farther a little bit more?
I think that's good.
So I like to take that makeup wedge and kind of push that in so that when I put my top coat over it, I can do it with one coat. So this one's already been encapsulated, it's ready for top coat. These are ready for top coat, and now this one's ready for top coat. So I'm going to continue on with Young Nails. This is our conversion top coat made for gel polish and made to even go over regular polish as well. Nice and thin layers. Encapsulate over that pigment. Drag it down the nail. Cap your color and your free edge, and then continue on. So Lindsay, just to help with the viewers, just tell me one thing that you did that was phenomenal.
So like outside of the big main islands, there are these little things they call motus, which are like little small islands, but they're still inside of the reef. And there's this one where you can walk up one side of the island and then you jump in, and the current coming from the ocean into the lagoon like pushes you down between the two islands, and it's just tons of coral and thousands of fish.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Did you want to get in the water? Or were you scuba diving at that time?
We were just snorkeling.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was
Does it
fun.
scare you to see that many fish in the water?
No, they were little. We did see sharks though. We caught a shark.
Oh my gosh.
Our captain was
Okay, so I'm going to set this in the light for 1 minute.
was from Alaska, and he's like this alternate fisherman and caught a shark.
Oh my gosh, what kind of shark?
It's called a reef shark, a black-tipped reef shark or black finned or something. They were small. It was only like
Yeah.
4 feet long, but it was so crazy.
So I'm a Shark Week fan, so I completely know which one you're talking about.
Yeah, it was cool.
So once again, I'm going to come up higher because I don't want this to go too much on the nail. So I have my pigment. I'm coming up actually closer to her skin rather than her cuticle. Dab that around. Get off the excess. And then I can pat it more into that tacky layer. That way I don't get, I don't know, too gaudy of an ombre look. Take the sponge, push it in to remove any excess so it doesn't get bulky at the cuticle. And then encapsulate that with your top coat. Oh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was really cool.
I don't know if you heard, but when we were in Mexico for your wedding, Brandon and I were walking up the beach and we saw a baby sand turtle.
I know. I'm so envious.
I
love
loved
sea
it.
turtles.
I wanted to catch it, but Brandon said no, and there was a lifeguard person watching. So I guess with that being said, I didn't want to get thrown in some
I was gonna
Mexican
say
prison.
Brandon's a good rule follower.
I know, dang it. I'm the rule breaker. Bring it down the sides, encapsulate your free edge. This is the one that the camera angle is always weird on. Cap the free edge. Remember, kind of come across just to make sure and look at them, make sure that they did not bubble up on the end from the hand placement. You know, if you're using hard gel, you've heard where they take the hand and they put it upside down so it will pull the gel down. So they can do that. Well, gel polish doesn't have the same viscosity as hard gel, so it doesn't work as well with this. So you always got to keep track so it doesn't bubble out like that. So this one has a top coat, and so we're going to set a light for 1 minute. Oh, go ahead and turn it on. Yeah.
I'm good. I didn't get it, thankfully.
So with this top coat, there is a disbursement layer. You take your rubbing alcohol, once again, same lint-free wipe, and remove that tacky layer because you don't want your client leaving sticky. Sorry, that's okay. If you need to do any shaping, you can. You prefer to do your shaping in the beginning so that you don't go through and kind of break that capping that you did. But if you need to, you know, do your shaping at this time as well. Very pretty, very smooth. You can see the gloss. You know, you can see my light reflecting on it, just encapsulating it the way that we did. So at this point, this is where I come in. I know this is made for nail polish, but it has a little bit of oil, it's conditioning. And I come in and I spray their cuticles and the nails. It smells amazing. It smells like almond. So it gives them a refreshing thing, like, oh, they're done, but they're not. All that did was make that look healthy around the skin tissue again so that I can take a picture. If she was to put lotion on right now to be able to do that, lotion will beat up on top and then it gives me marks in my polish line. And so at this point I spray them, I put their fingers together, pose them however, you know, and then capture my picture, and then I give them lotion, and you can rub that into their fingers and give an extra treatment if you want, or, you know, if they're in a hurry, they just take off and go. So know that that would be the completed service right there.